What? What is this? After finishing the care for my parents who had been in a traffic accident, I hurried home, only to find something waiting for me at the entrance that was not my husband, who I had expected to be worried about me. It was a pair of red women's shoes, not mine, nor my mother-in-law's, but a design of youthful, feminine high heels. Exhausted from the care, I collapsed at the entrance as if I had been struck with a blunt object to the back of my head by the shock. The situation continued to add insult for me, as I heard the voice of a man and a woman coming from the bathroom at the end of the hallway. The woman's moaning voice pierced my ears as it passed through the hallway to the entrance. In that moment, I remembered the days when I had been scolded and ridiculed by my husband, and one possibility crossed my mind. I couldn't believe it. I don't want to believe it. I was confused, but I tried to brace myself and nervously headed towards the bathroom. Would it become the worst story I could imagine? Or just a misunderstanding that would become a laughing matter later? I couldn't abandon my faint hope yet. As I arrived in front of the bathroom door, I heard the laughter of the men and women inside. My heart beat so loudly that I couldn't believe it. I reached out my trembling hand to the door that separated us. My name is Margaret, and I am a housewife. My husband Henry and I met through a traditional arranged marriage, in which our parents introduced us. My father and his father knew each other from college, and they sympathized with each other's family businesses, so they became close friends. My husband's family business had been near bankruptcy in the past, but now it is doing well. My husband was to take over the family business, so he asked me to quit my job. Although I liked my job, I agreed to become a housewife for him. My in-laws were also nice people, and we often had meals and went shopping together even when my husband was not around. I think we had a very good relationship with both my in-laws and my husband before we got married. However, my husband completely changed after we got married. He often came home late, and we couldn't have a decent conversation. He never apologized or explained why he was late or why he didn't contact me. I had to cook dinner every day and wait for him, not knowing if he would come home or eat outside. But when he did come home, he would complain about the food I had prepared or just ignored me. Since I was always criticized, I was always on edge while doing household chores. At first, I was just bewildered, but after several weeks of this, anger began to well up inside me. Why? Why would you do something like this? Don't you know I have taken the time and effort to make those dishes?
Shut up. The ingredients were bought with my money, so it's my right.
Despite my numerous protests, my husband continued to act this way.
It's my money, my contribution. Don't act all high and mighty when you don't even work.
He would constantly throw such words at me. Before I knew it, our conversations as a couple had almost disappeared, and every time we met, my husband would insult me. Hey, Henry, did I do something? Can you tell me why you were acting like this? Even if I asked, my husband would just ignore me. The living room was filled with a heavy and dark atmosphere that I didn't feel like newlywed. What happened to my once kind-hearted husband in such a short period of time? Even though I became a housewife at his request. I had no idea what caused my husband to change so drastically. I was exhausted from such days with my husband, and the idea of divorce had crossed my mind several times. I thought about consulting with my parents and in-laws, but I couldn't bring myself to do it, because I thought the problem might be my fault as well. I also thought that it wasn't appropriate to talk about problems between couples to our parents. Thinking that way, I couldn't talk to anyone. Besides, when I recalled the peaceful and happy days with my husband before we got married, I couldn't bring myself to divorce him. As I continued to struggle with myself, my husband continued to throw me insults. Feeling at my wits' end with such days, I began to only do the bare minimum of housework during the day and shut myself up in my room to avoid seeing my husband. I thought about going back to my parents' house, but since I had married late, I couldn't bring myself to embarrass my parents. Then, one day, I received a call from the hospital. It was to inform me that my parents had been in a traffic accident and had been taken to the hospital. I hurried to the hospital, and there were my parents, who were wearing bandages and looked painful. According to the doctor, their injuries were not life-threatening, but they would have difficulty with their daily activities for a while. Although it wasn't bad enough for a long hospitalization, both of them seemed to have hit their head. Since they had injured their legs as well, it would be better if someone in the family could take care of them. The doctors also said that if my parents wished, they could receive physical therapy at the hospital. However, I respected my parents' opinion of wanting to spend their recovery time at home instead of an unfamiliar hospital. As a result, it was decided that I would accompany them and take care of them at home. Since I had rushed out of the house when I received the call, I went home to pick up my things to stay at my parents' house. I packed the bare minimum of clothes and necessities into a carry-on bag. It seems that my husband was puzzled by my hasty departure, so he came to peek into my room. When I explained the situation to him, that I would be leaving home for a while, he said,
Are you saying that you'll be taking care of your parents instead of doing housework? There is no serious health problem, is there? You are a full-time homemaker.
And now you're giving up your only job? My husband seems completely uninterested in my desire to be with my parents. I was so sad and frustrating that my husband belittles my parents. I felt like I had reached the limit of my current lifestyle, and maybe something could change if I separated from him. Anyway, I don't think I can come back for a while. See ya. I said that and headed to the hospital, ignoring my husband's insults. Although my parents had to be hospitalized for examination, they were lucky enough to be discharged in a few days because they were otherwise healthy. Few weeks passed since the accident. Then one day, while I was continuing to take care of my parents at home, I received a call from my cousin. She said she could come and help during her long vacation from work. With my cousin's help, I returned home earlier than planned. Since my parents were good friends with my in-laws, it became a daily routine to report my parents' well-being to my mother-in-law while I was at my parents' house. I walked home while talking to my mother-in-law on the phone. I was a little nervous about when was the last time I had a proper conversation with my husband. If we could return to the relationship we had before we got married, by physically living apart, that would be great. I opened the front door with such a faint hope in mind. However, what I found at the entrance froze me. It was a pair of women's bright red high heel. It was definitely not mine or my mother-in-law's. And the situation continued to worsen for me. I could hear a man and a woman's voice coming from the bathroom at the end of the hallway. The woman's moaning voice pierced my ears as it passed through the hallway and reached me at the entrance. Along with the feeling of sadness, there was also a sense of resignation that this was bound to happen. However, when I remembered the days when I was ridiculed and insulted by my husband, I couldn't help but feel angry at the current situation. I marched towards the bathroom in anger. I grabbed the clothes of the two people I found in the dressing room and threw them into the hallway. Then I opened the bathroom door with a bang. Inside, my husband and the woman were embracing each other while naked. My husband made eye contact with me when he noticed me, but he didn't even try to pretend and continue what he was doing. I could hear the sound of my own blood vessels
bursting with anger at the sight.
What the heck are you doing?
A loud voice echoed through the bathroom, but the two were still hugging each other and grinning at me. In addition to my husband's attitude toward me since we got married, this was too much. At the moment, there was not a trace of love left in me for my husband. Unable to bear it anymore, I shouted even louder. Enough! I want a divorce right now. Then my husband just laughed and said, Divorce? You're unemployed and can't live without me. So how do you plan to survive? You're the one in trouble here. Just keep doing the housework as usual, and I'll let you stay here. But don't expect me to be your night partner. I felt my shoulders shaking with his words. Then, the woman he was having an affair with looked down on me and snickered. The two of them laughed and breathed heavily, filling the bathroom with their mockery. At that moment, someone's voice echoed through the bathroom. Do you even know what you're saying? What a stupid son you are! I can't believe it! It was my mother-in-law. She was furious. Surprised by her anger, my husband and his mistress froze in their tracks. Only I knew where this voice was coming from. Huh, you didn't notice, did you? I was on the phone with your mother the whole time. Yes, the call I made to my mother-in-law on my way back from my parents' house was still ongoing. My mother-in-law, who apparently realized that something was wrong from my voice, was scolding my husband through the screen. The sight of the two of them panicking and flustered while naked was quite comical. Having had enough, I decided to enjoy this situation to the fullest. Well, your mother may not even know what's going on, so I'm going to switch to video chat now, I said, operating my smartphone in my right hand to switch to video chat. Then I aimed the camera at my husband and his mistress and started broadcasting the whole thing. So I just got home from my parents' house. Then I heard a strange voice coming from the bathroom. So I went to check it out and found this situation. I was so surprised because my husband and his mistress were getting along so well, you know? Well, now they're taken aback by the sudden appearance of the camera and seems to lose their mood. Oh, are you too embarrassed? Oh, well, he began to looking for his clothes now. But there are no clothes left in the dressing room. Where could they be? Margaret, what are you doing? Stop the camera. Do you think you can get away with this? What? You're the one who can't get away with this. Cheating is illegal in this state, you know? Don't mess with me. I think it's you who's messing around here. My husband was panicking as I spoke while suppressing my laughter, and my mother-in-law was furious at her son's misconduct. The mistress was crying and looking for her clothes in a state of confusion. My father-in-law, who apparently heard his wife scream through the call screen, also joined in and yelled at his son along with his wife. What have you done to the family who saved our company? What? Saved our company? What are you talking about, Dad? You didn't know, did you? Then I explained to my confused husband a story. The story is about when my in-laws' family business was in trouble in the past. My father was the one who helped them financially and got them out of trouble. I asked both parents not to explain the circumstances to my husband when we were to meet for the matchmaking. I didn't want my husband to feel like he owed us something, and I wanted to establish a fair relationship. His parents had only introduced him to the daughter of an acquaintance from work. Now that the truth was revealed, my husband's face turned pale. If I had known, I wouldn't have done this. Why didn't you tell me earlier?
What?
So you're saying you behave differently depending on the other person's position?
I knew it. I knew you were that kind of human being.
You. How despicable.
Seeing my husband's shoulders shake at his father's words, I came to a conclusion. The reason he made me a housewife was his strategy to establish dominance. I was just the one who did all the housework and acted as his punching bag for his stress. It wasn't because of something I did or because his feelings changed. He's always been this disappointing human being. Suddenly, all the days of my patience and anger seemed foolish, and I felt like laughing. I'm glad I never told you. I'm glad I never told the truth before, because now I can see your true nature clearly. I wonder if your affair partner really thinks there's something good about a man like you? As I speak, I hold up the face of the affair partner to the camera. Then my mother-in-law yelled loudly, "You! I thought I'd seen you before. You're one of our employees, aren't you? What on earth have you two been doing together?" Then, my father-in-law's loud sigh of disappointment can be heard through the speaker, as they seem to be at their wits' end.
You two. Don't think you're getting off that easy. You're going to take responsibility for this. Be prepared.
While my husband drops to his knees in shock and the affair partner starts to cry, I smile and say, "So, I guess this means we're getting a divorce." Then I said to my in-laws, "I'm sorry for this, suddenly causing you both so much trouble. I'll contact you again later to talk about this." After that, my husband and I officially got divorced. It turns out that the affair between my husband and his affair partner had been going on since before our marriage. Just a little bit of research brought forth a mountain of evidence that made my husband's foolishness pitiable. I have no intention of forgiving the affair partner who had looked down on me and laughed. I demanded compensation from both of my husband and her. Although my husband mutters excuses, there was no denying the evidence. So he signed all the divorce agreements I presented. My in-laws sided completely with me during our divorce. My husband was disowned by his family, and talk of him being their successor was abandoned, of course. I heard that the affair partner was also fired from her job. They will have a hard time scraping together the compensation for me, but that is of no concern to me. However, this incident became the trigger for my husband and his lover to break up soon after the divorce. And as a result of my divorce from my husband, a turning point came in my life. As there was no real successor, my ex-parents-in-law approached me with a job offer. Before getting married, I had worked in the same industry and had been entrusted with the position of branch manager at a different company. My ex-parents-in-law were aware of this and seemed to think that there was no one else but me to succeed them. As I had been thinking about finding a job after the divorce, this was a very welcome offer. Although I needed some time to study and refresh my knowledge due to the gap in my employment history. They provided me with a position as assistant to the president. I'm determined to live up to their expectations. By the way, Henry contacted me for help, probably because he heard about I was to take over his family business. I have a job and can do household chores by myself, so I don't think I need to be with someone unemployed, do I? So, goodbye. I answered like that and hung up the phone. Since then, I hadn't heard from him. I ended up returning to my parents' home, and without any after effects from the accident, my parents are on the road to recovery. I continue to have a good relationship with my ex-in-laws as a business partner now. After separating from my husband, who threatened my dignity, the people who remained with me were those who treated me well. To maintain a fulfilling daily life, I vow to cherish every day and live with the happiness I have now.